Another presentation now by an organization which has become very ubiquitous with payment and payment methods. So we have now with us the CEO, Paytm Money. Please get your hands together for Mr. Varun Sridhar.
Hi everyone. Doing a sound check. Does it work well? Yes. Okay. It's tough to be the last speaker right before lunch. जाओ 1 घंटे से lunch के लिए promise किया जा रहा है. Right, so it's kind of tough to do that. My second problem is I'm not a techie, I'm not an engineer. I run a business, I'm the CEO of Paytm Money. My third problem is most of you will be wondering, he introduced us as a payment company. Actually, I'm a wealth management platform. Right, so third problem is that, after NSC has spoken, and you heard the NSC session, I was very fascinated. It's kind of, I don't know, humbling that I don't do 12 billion orders a day. We are a startup that is just about 3 years old. I'll take 2 minutes to talk about the company. I'm not going to talk to you about technology at all because I don't understand it. I think I'm a user. I challenge everybody in the wealth management industry to push the boundary. Right? मैं कहता हूँ कि आप एक कैसे ₹1 SIP वाले customer को plus एक customer जो 100 crore डालना चाहता है, how do you bring both together onto a mobile app? And I think mobile apps will disappear in about 2 years, 3 years, 10 years. I don't know when. I saw a prototype in San Francisco. When you're born, they put a chip inside your body and that's your phone. Right, so I used to work with an OEM before. I used to work with Oppo, OnePlus, Realme, and before that I was a banker. So I did about 15 years in banking, and then one day I fought with my bank. I used to work for BNP Paribas, and I used to run about 16 banks, and I fought with my bank saying, "Yeah, the world is moving ahead in technology, and you still call this IT." I said we should change our team's name because at least we should start calling it engineering and technology and living a new life. But BNP couldn't come around, and me and BNP had difference of opinion. I used to be a fanboy of Vijay Shekhar Sharma, and one day, out of everything, I said, "Yaar, ye India jana hai wapas." So I came back from Paris. I used to lead a team of about 40,000 people, and I used to run all these banks. I used to make a nice profit, and everything was cool. But I never could understand why BNP wouldn't move on tech, right? And I could see the world changing. So when I came back to India, I got the chance. I took it. One of the reasons I took my chance, and I'll give you a very brief intro on Paytm Money, is because I think I felt that India has a huge issue that our country is run through the banking system, and the most efficient way, I know I'm seeing a lot of bankers here, most efficient way to run a country is actually through capital markets, right? Because it's more efficient. Market price determine karte hai, jo hai wahi hai. There's buyers and sellers and the market goes on, right? So as that market started to correct, and I felt here India, the reason it's not there is retail is not there. Right? Retail doesn't participate. So we put our money beautifully with savings account, bank accounts, and I saw all the presentations. I was like, yaar, ye nahi karna chahiye. It's degrowing for all of us as individuals to do that, right? It's against us. But eventually the bank makes money because they take it from us and give it blah, 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 right? You know how banking works. So I said, I'll get into capital markets. And then I met Vijay. And in Paytm, I saw a company, I saw a founder which could change India, right? And what Paytm has done, I'm not going to talk about it, but it's changed India. So I said, hey, if Paytm can change India, can I do the same in the wealth space? So that's what I do. Today we are a super app of wealth management. 1 year back we were nobody, maybe, but today we are a super app. We are top 3 mutual fund distributors in India. We have one customer at least in 99% of all PIN codes in India. We then launched our stockbroking business, futures and options, derivatives, algo trading about 14 months back. We are now broker number 14 in India. So we do about 1 million trades a day, about 750, 800,000 orders a day. After NSC, I'm a baby, right? A very, very young baby. We don't like to spend too much on marketing. So we are growing organically because there is only one thing I like to do, which is technology and product, right? And we said, if you get technology product right, one day for Paytm, customers are not the issue, right? Like we don't worry how many customers we can have. We actually worry how many customers can have that great experience. And I'll talk about that. And I'm not going to talk about engineering, right? But okay, so the second thing we do is we do this stockbroking platform. The third thing we do is we do something called Paytm Wealth Community, which is a video first community. So we said the biggest problem in India is we make great bankers, chartered accountants, architects, journalists. But at the end of the day, if I ask somebody 500 rupees aapko kaise invest karna hai, nobody knows. Why? Because somehow we never learned financial education. So we said, okay, let's set up a video first community. And it was a big challenge because anything I do, I have to start thinking here 5 million people can log in together and see a video of somebody in Pune speaking about how to do option trading. Right? And that's the challenge. And at the same time, there's another 2 million people listening to this guy in Bengali speaking about how to do your first SIP. right? And these are the challenges, but we launched the community. We thought nobody will come to the community. It's a beta product, and that's how we work, and I'll talk about that. And it worked. It's worked beautifully. We've got 2 million views, and so that started working. Then we've also launched something called Paytm Wealth Academy, which is a DIY paid education business. So I think you should pay for learning, and so therefore it's not free. If you want to go free, you go on YouTube, but I said you have to learn to pay. So my engineering team then got down together and designed this beautiful front-end platform, which works, right? So it works multilingual, it has gaming inside, it has a bunch of stuff inside. Together with all of that, we do retirement and a bunch of other stuff. Now, why did I mention all this to you? Is very recently we launched something called PMS, which is a portfolio management service marketplace. Essentially, you can do PMS when the minimum ticket size is 50 lakhs, but normally customers have about 2.5 crores in one investment, right? So that's the average, and I had to put HNIs also on the platform. While we were doing all of this, we strongly believe that my competency as Paytm Money is technology, is product, is distribution. I know that my competency, like you have somebody here from IFL, and you heard him yesterday, is not capital market knowledge, right? So I said, how do I get it? I get it from all the startups around. So we went to startups and said, what can I do for you? They said, yaar, aap apna system khol do, right? Like open banking that you guys hopefully spoke about yesterday. So I said, I can open, no problem. So I opened up all my systems and we partnered with a bunch of companies like Wealth Basket, like Investor AI. So just to give you a feeling, Investor AI does pre-market opening about 8 million calculations for all the stocks in about 42 seconds. And then I have to show that message to the customer, and the customer has to do one click to buy the stock. So the trick on me, I'm a consumer company, so I think about how to make it one click for the consumer. Right? But so we opened up our whole system and got a bunch of startups. As we speak, we are integrating with about 12 or 13 startups to give them full access to my system, end to end, right? So that they can really run. And all this obviously is regulated, right? And so as all of this started, where is my engineering team? And I think that may be more useful for you rather than talking about my business. So as I was saying, there are 3 things that I think are the future. And I really like that slide. I think Progressive had done it, which is SLA to XLA. मैं अपने यही कहता हूँ अपने engineering team को always कि stop, you know, that there is always the back end, there's the hard engineering, there's infrastructure that has to be right. There's no doubt, right? That has to be fantastic. We have to do, like I'm going to learn from sir, how do you process 12 billion transactions, right? And you know, the biggest thing I keep requesting the broker, the regulator, when I go there and I say, when will India do fractional investing? Then NSE has to worry about 12 billion into 10, right? So 120 billion a day, because all our stocks will get broken. So he'll be saying, yaar Varun, abhi aap mat karna hai sir, right? But you know, that's what we would like to do. But let's for 5 minutes forget about transaction. Let's for 5 minutes forget about this back-end platform, because I think I know many of you know 10 times more than me. Maybe I can talk about something fresher and different, which for me is consumer experience. What are the 3 things happening there, and how can we as an engineering fraternity, of which I'm not part of, but I kind of, you know, run a product tech company, work? So the first thing I tell my engineering team is 5G, is data, right? You know, very recently we launched a voice trading platform. So what we did is we said, hey, what is the biggest problem of a trader? So if you actually look, they have all these screens, they're doing, and the punching order time, and you know, sir spoke about NSE order time. My problem is how do I get that to him, right? Like how much time does somebody take to type and do that? The second thing we realized, Bangalore, aap mein se koi Bangalore se hai? Some of you are from Bangalore or Bombay. Bombay, I know more hands. Yeah, you know what traffic means, right? That's a stand-up comedy joke. Ki aap Bangalore wale se pucho what traffic means. But we realized that most of our consumers have network drops because they're on the road when the market opens. So what's the problem that I need to solve? This guy is driving his car and he's placing an order, right? And how did I get the idea? Because I got the idea from one of my friends who banked his car and he said, Varun, please insurance kara do. मैंने कहा ऐसा क्या हो गया? मैं trade कर रहा था, you know, and I was driving and I had to get to office. So he said, okay, how do we solve it? So he said, let's do voice trading. You connect to Bluetooth, you switch on your Paytm Money app, it works. Okay, it works faster than you typing by 10 times. To implement that at scale is a tough thing to do. But I think that's what 5G allows you to do. So I keep telling my team, what is 5G going to change? So I used to work in China. I launched a digital bank in China. I can tell you I've seen the impact of 5G. It will completely change everything that we do right now as it comes in, right? As it comes in, as phones become better, processing capability will move from your system to the phone. Today we process everything on the back end, display it. I think a lot of that processing capability can move to the user device, right? And that's how intelligent solutions can be made. But one of the things I tell my team is, what is 5G going to impact? Video, right? So today on Paytm Money, about 1 million videos get streamed every day while they are trading. So this is what the future looks like to us. I'm talking to you and I'm telling you which stock is good or not as an advisor. While you're seeing me, you can also place the order, see the video, see your positions. Now, that's tough to do because you can't have lag, right? You can't have all those things, and that depends on phone device and so many other problems. But I think the future of 5G is something I would very seriously like everybody to think about. Link that to consumer experience on the app, right? Consumer experience is what matters at the end of the day. And there I think, if you look at what technology is allowing us to do, is to separate consumers. Is to say who's a ultra HNI, who's a simple SIP guy, who's an option trader, who is just starting to learn. When systems go down, and systems do go down, right? We work in an ecosystem and things go wrong and consumers have issues. What is our solution to that is what we worry about, right? So what we've started to do is to start thinking of re-architecting our backend system, re-architecting our front-end system, to say instead of having a backend system, how do different consumers have different backend systems, right? And that my engineering team tells me, Varun, aap ye sab soch ke bol dete ho, hame karna hota hai, right? And I say, yeah, but you know, at the end, I think that's what makes the difference, right? Because eventually the consumer experience will matter, right? And I think as 5G kicks in, as phone devices becomes, I've seen a phone, just to tell you, they are trying to port a startup with an OEM, and I won't tell you the OEM's name because I signed an NDA. They're trying to put the power of an Apollo satellite, an Apollo spaceship inside a phone. So that phone is as powerful, and currently the cost of that phone is $1 million. They're trying to bring that phone into $300, right? Obviously, usme, you know, screens, etc., etc. So when that happens, the power of a phone will go up. As that goes up, the power of computing will go up. As that goes up and data becomes cheaper and easier, the real questions will start to emerge. So that's my pillar one of thought to you, something that you could think about. We at Paytm Money are working on it, right? The second thought is data. There's so much of data, but unfortunately, most banks, most fintechs don't use it. And we don't use it real time. Why? Because there's so much that, you know, once you get down to it, it's $1 billion project, $1 billion rupee project. उसका पैसा इतना लगता है कि, you know, the CEO, somebody like me saying, यार अभी PNL में इतना space नहीं है, आप ना कभी और आना. And it becomes a two-man data sciences project, so that doesn't work. So one of the things we've started to do is, what's the problem in my industry? My problem in my industry is most retail customers lose money. Right? How many of you are losing money these days? I am, I can tell you, I'm losing a lot of money on the stock market. You can raise your hand if you are now. But, you know, so as we tend to lose, the problem we were trying to solve was, what is the reason people are losing? And we realized that it's emotion, it's wrong decisions and all of that. So we are working to decide, why does a user make losses? And if a user is making losses consistently, how can I use data sciences real time to try and help him out? It's like I'm becoming your personal trainer in your gym, right? Or I'm swimming next to you in the ocean. I know you're tired, I'll give you the life jacket, and then I can help you. Computing data sciences is a very, very important job, because all of us are generating a lot of digital footprint. Most of us don't realize, don't capture, right? So one of the things my engineering team is working on is to say, what is the future of data sciences with a specific use case? So what I don't like and what we try and avoid is very holistic conversations. Let's do this, let's do that. What I try to tell my team is that, hey, why don't you look at X use cases which are very consumer friendly? Then you say, I can charge for these use cases to a consumer because somebody needs to pay the bills, right? And then if that use case works and you can deliver it in 3 years' time, let's put a set of people to it, right? And then let's build a team, and that team is a startup inside a startup, which has a certain stock option, which has a certain value creation, and the engineering team that did it actually gets that benefit, right? So by the way, I forgot to tell you, 80% of all my costs at Paytm Money are product and engineering. Right? We don't have sales teams, we don't do marketing. So all my money is spent, 80% of it, even my product teams, 80–90% of them are actually engineering teams, right? So actually my engineering team is the biggest cost, my biggest time, my biggest reason for success, right? And Paytm Money, if you think, is today decently successful as a startup, it's all because of my engineering team, because they take these challenges, they come back with solutions, they solve it, and at the end of it, at the end of that 3-year period, there's a reward associated with it, right? So second thing on data science is, what I've realized is identifying those use cases, right? So if you're early, and why do I tell an engineering team, aap bologe yaar, normally business walo ko bolna chahiye use case kya hai? You know, at Paytm Money, one of the cultural changes we've made is we've said that the engineering team should come up with those changes, because honestly, you can solve more problems than I can. I can dream about what to solve, but actually you have solved the biggest problem for India when you fixed NSE's backup, right? Everybody's a bit scared, what if NSE has issues, right? If you ask my customer, they will tell you, what if NSE has issues? But I can tell you now they don't, because after I heard you, I'll tell all my customers it's brilliant. But I think that kind of stability only comes from engineers in today's world, because technology has taken over everything else. So I keep telling my engineering team saying, hey, my problem is my customer doesn't make profit. How are you going to solve it? Right? And then my team comes up, this is Varun, please give us a week, we'll come up. So my data sciences projects are very end driven. It takes time, but the end result is already clear on day 0. Right? So my second request to all of you is, while your first request was around 5G, around computing power shifting to the phone, but the second request I would make to you is around data sciences. There's no point boiling the pot. Right? More often than not, if I look at enterprises, and I used to run a bank, and one of my biggest problems was my enterprise data bill, if you hear, was at least, if not I think 400 million euros plus. Okay? And that's not a small amount. 400 million euros. And I used to say, kar kyun nahi? Like, what's the output you get out of doing all this, right? And the outputs are very vague. There's no clear science. When I came to Paytm, I saw the brilliant change. I only see data sciences people working as small startups. They're end-to-end teams. There's a product team, there's a data sciences team, there's a small front-end, back-end team. So they can operate and execute. Right? So we've become a bunch of small startups, and so Paytm Money would have about 10 odd small teams or pods, as we call it, or you can call it pizza slices or whatever, right? You think of the word that you like, but we've put these teams together with a definite perspective. So the second point I would make is, data sciences, which I think is very, very relevant in today's world. Third, maybe small topic around risk management in my business. Right? What is risk management in my business? Risk management in my business is, does the client lose money? Simple. Right? And how do you solve for it? How do you solve for user experience? What we see there is we can't manage it, because you can't control client emotions. So what we could do is to allow a bunch of startups. So I met this startup which said, hey Varun, we are able to see your face and recognize your emotion. I said, aap mazak kar rahe ho. They said, acha hum aapko TV dikhate hain. आप आधे घंटे का, you see the serial, and we will then record and tell you what was your emotion, and then you tell us we were right or wrong. Okay, it's a good test, right? I did it. They were 95, 96% right. I think only once they got me wrong, but with my kind of face, they could still get it right. And the technology they've built is fantastic. So they said, hey, what if we can integrate this to you live while you're trading, so that your risk, if customer is under stress, you can give him data. Like he's placing a trade, market's down, you're losing money. What if I can at that moment know that you're under stress and realize, right? So what if you can do those things? So that's how we started to think. And so what we've set up ourselves for, and we said risk management is our biggest problem. What we've done is we've opened up our complete system to startups. We've given our engineering team an ability to do a startup inside, right? We've gone ahead and said, how can we get some of the user data that the user is generating only for the user's benefit, not for anything else, right? So there's no need to violate privacy, but there's a need maybe that you did this trade 1 week back, you lost money, etc., right? How can we help you? So one of the things that we are talking about, it came out of this small startup, is an intelligent order. If some of you buy things, when you buy things in the market, you buy at a certain price. But what if I could tell you that you wait a bit? Don't do it right now. I will mathematically tell you that 98% probability that I'll help you find a better price. I'm your broker, right? That's my definition, technically. So broker क्या करता है? आपको बोलता है, सर आप घर वहाँ इतने में ले रहे हो, मुझे एक दिन दो, मैं कोशिश करके देखता हूँ आपको, मैं शायद ये घर slightly lower price पे कर दूँ. That's the job, right? Essentially, my job is a platform, but I do it at scale. I do millions and millions of orders at scale for different type of consumers. So we said, okay, how can I make an intelligent order? Right now, some of these things come out of the engineering team, and what I wanted to explain to you is I can't do this alone. So one of the things that I have told my engineering team, and that's what I tell my suggestion to all of you, is the future is one of a partnership. The future is, how do you comply to regulations, obviously, but how do you open up yourself for innovation? Most innovation will not happen inside our jobs. Like I know my ability to innovate is very, very restricted, right? Which leads me to my last pillar of conversation with you. And then if you have any questions, we can answer, is around employees. I was just having a chat. What is the biggest problem in engineering today? It is to find talent. It's impossible. It's become expensive. People leave, all these problems are, I'm sure, I don't know how many of you have those problems. I see a few nodding heads and I see a few smiles. saying, "Acha," but for me, it's huge, right? And you will think Paytm Money finds it easy. It's not, right? It's really, really difficult for two reasons. One, my approval ratio for interviews to selection is 1:75, right? Which means if I interview 75 engineers, one gets selected, right? And there are 3 people who actually get selected. 2 आखिरी दिन फोन करके कहते हैं सर मैं नहीं आ रहा हूँ, या कुछ ब्लॉक भी कर देंगे, राइट? क्योंकि वो एक बार ऑफर आने के बाद 5 ऑफर देखते हैं इधर उधर कि कुछ भी स्टॉक मार्केट की तरह थोड़ा सा शॉपिंग करें. So my biggest problem today is HR, right? Is talent in engineering, because I think vision is set. Some of you, I was hearing, are fantastic, right? I don't need to come and preach you about engineering or technology, but I think the issue today, the real issue in engineering teams, is in my mind an HR issue. What is the issue there? I think first issue is to give what I call a failure budget, right? I have never seen tech teams coming and arguing, saying, Varun, I want to experiment. If your budget is 100 crores, give me 10 crores. Don't ask me anything about this. Don't question me. I think the failure budget concept has been a great, great success at Paytm Money. We launched a project called Sidekick, okay? The single best things that have happened to us, including voice trading, are Sidekick projects. Sidekick essentially means I'm doing my job, this is my side thing. Okay, most engineers anyway hustle. I said, "Yaar, bahar hustle kar rahe ho, isse acha mere paas hustle kar lo." What do you want, right? You want an ability not to have Varun Sridhar as your boss, done. You don't want governance, done. You don't want to report to somebody, done. You want to do code in a certain way which is not as per the process we follow, done. You want to use a different technology, done. You want to go partner with somebody else, done. We called it Sidekick. We gave them specific time. We said, I'll not ask you a single question, 0 questions asked, right? And you know what? All those projects are more successful than all my regular projects, right? And I know that's a bell for lunch, right? But I'll be done in another 30 seconds. So that's one failure budget that we've really succeeded. The second thing that we've really succeeded with is making people feel entrepreneurial. My engineering team actually leads the company now. Right? Vijay is an engineer. Most of you know Vijay. Most of the top 10 people of Paytm are, 9 of them are engineering except me and one more guy. Right? So engineering teams, technology teams actually now lead the company at the top. What that means is you give the power to those people. It doesn't mean that your IT team actually sits in the executive committee. Business wale sara bol dete hain. IT team se puchta hai delivery date batao. Right? That's how it used to happen. That's why I left my bank. Right? Ye kaise ho sakta hai? You have to ask him. He's the guy who has to deliver. He's the guy who has to do the job. He will actually tell you what is innovation. So we've changed the tables now inside our boardrooms. The guy with the highest salary doesn't talk anymore, by the way. So that's me. Right? So I don't take the decisions. The decision is given to engineering to say, what can you do differently for us? I have this problem. My problem is this. As business, I think I talk to customers. If you ever complain to me on Twitter, if you're my customer, there's no other person handling my social media. I do it myself. Why? Because that customer, at least 10,000 people have my WhatsApp number, right? Because I find it easier to know the problem. Then I call my engineering head and I say, "Yaar, ye problem hai. Aap batao isko kaise solve karoge?" Right? Like one of the problems we were having was video. So we said, how do we solve it? So then he takes a month and he comes back. So I think as you think about how you will build a company, I think, a lot of people spoke about very hard engineering things. Some of that flew over my head, right? But I think I can tell you that engineering teams need to occupy now, in my mind, important places in the company. They need to start leading companies. They need to start being in the driver's seat as compared to be in the other seat. And that requires a major HR shift. Then your attrition rates go down, hopefully, and you pass wealth creation. Last comment I'll make is 80% of my, like I said, product engineering cost is there. About 90% of my rewards actually sit with the engineering team now. Which means that if you're a business guy in Paytm Money, your salary is not so good, right? But if you're not, then your rewards are good. But thank you for inviting me. I hope I didn't keep you too far away from lunch. And pleasure to talk to all of you. Thank you.
Can we open up for some questions, sir?
Yes, please.
Yeah? So if you have any questions, but a maximum of 2 questions only, and please keep it short. Please introduce yourself and ask the question. If you have any question in the audience?
There's somebody there.
Okay, sir.
Hi, this is Manish from HDFC Bank. This is not a question, rather I was just wanting to share a thought with you. You raised a problem statement about somebody making a phone fit in $300 and a lot of compute being put in it, correct? And believe me, this thought just occurred to me. And since you kind of spoke with 5G and what its capabilities are, today, while we know that how a cell tower works, we know how the phones work. Why do you want to pump so much of compute into the phone when we already have a concept called distributed computing? May not have reached where it is, may sound very futuristic right now, but this thought came to me that a cell tower could be made to double up as a computing tower as well. And you could use maybe futuristic 5G and ahead technologies to do that compute and still have a simple phone to deliver everything on the phone.
So I'll ask you to go to Hangzhou. I travel a lot, right, for my work and for my passion, sorry, not for work. And you should go to Hangzhou. There's something called an Oppo City. You know what they've done there? They're exactly trying what you're saying, right? It's already live. What they have done is gone a step further. They have said that if I have to deliver 200 Mbps connectivity on a device, and they're saying device, they're not saying phone, they're saying device. How can I deliver it in a distributed way at very high speeds? Because their belief is the future is 250 kilometers per hour transport. Because even urban transport will evolve. At 250 kilometers per hour, if somebody has to talk to somebody, because their biggest use case is me talking to my loved one, right? That's what the phone company needs to get correct. So if you want to do that, how will they do that at pace? So what you're saying, I'm very happy that you spoke about it, is already actually in pilot in some of these countries.
So it's not very futuristic then.
Right? No, you'll be surprised. I really urge all of you, just go fast forward yourself and ask yourself, if all of us here have 200 Mbps connectivity or 300 or 400, just given to us like that, how does it change our consumer experience? How does that change the way we work? Everything changes. All of a sudden the world has changed, and I think that's the future. Right? So we have to start talking about it, especially in engineering teams.
Thank you.
Thank you. But I like that you thought like that. But do go to Hangzhou, please, if you can.
In fact, he was the one who won the prize for one of my trick questions.
So I have to recruit him. मुझे engineering talent की shortage है.
Right. So if we don't have another question, in fact, you can connect offline as well. And thank you very much, sir, for joining us. It was an extremely interesting session. Thank you.